Good morning. Today I'm going to share to you what the Filipinos can learn from Canadians and what Canadians can learn from Filipinos. This might be the government or just from one Canadian to a Filipino or from a Filipino to a Canadian. Okay? So it's like the best practices of each country. And I'm sharing to you now. Number one is free healthcare. Yes, we pay higher taxes, but still the outcome is free healthcare. I've walked in once in a hospital and several times in a clinic, and after the procedure, I just walked out without paying anything. Though the taxes that we pay are a little higher, but still it gives us the security that whatever happens in the future, whatever sicknesses that we may encounter, we won't have mounts of hospital bills to pay, or our savings will not be depleted by just one sickness. And what's good here is that aside from the government giving us free healthcare, the Ontario government, because it's different, the provincial and the federal, the Ontario government gives free prescription drugs to children ages 24 years and younger. The Philippine government can learn from the Canadian government, though we pay higher taxes because of this free healthcare. But still, it gives us the security that whatever happens to you in the future, you won't be like money poor when your hospital bills are like mounting. The second one is that the government encourages you to save money for your future. We call it the RRSP and the RESP. The RRSP is called Registered Retirement Savings Plan, and the RESP is called Registered Education Savings Plan. For RRSP, the idea here is when you are in your prime, when you're earning a certain amount of income that's high, you bring it down by putting some in your savings. So here's how the concept works. For RRSP, let's say you're in your 20s. You're earning minimum income. Let's say you're earning 25,000 annual. And you're paying taxes for 25,000 bracket. That's good. When you're in your 25, you got a better paying job. Now you're earning 35,000 annual. And you're paying for the bracket for the 35,000. That 35,000 is not the same tax when you paid with your 25,000. So the idea here is to pay lesser taxes and for you to be encouraged to save for your future. Let's say you save $3,000 for that year. So now your taxable income is only 32,000. And the 3,000, you put it in your RRSP, which you can withdraw when you retire. Okay? So let's just put that money there for now. So you save on the taxes alone for that year. When you reach, let's say, 35, you're already earning like 60,000 annual. Your tax bracket for the 60,000 annual is different, of course, from your 25,000 and your 35,000. The taxes that you pay for the 60,000 annual is much bigger. Try to bring it down by contributing to your RRSP. Let's say you contributed 5,000. So the 5,000 goes to your savings for the future. And you're taxed now with 55,000 only. You are saving on the taxes itself. You get a refund. Time comes when you retire, you don't have any income. You don't have monthly income at all. So when you withdraw from your RRSP, your tax would be at that bracket, whatever that you withdraw only from your RRSP. So if you withdraw only 25,000, then you are taxed with the 25,000 only. So you get it? It encourages you to save money for the future, and it even gives you a refund for doing so. So RESP, this time, whatever you contribute for your child's education, the government gives a counterpart. This is free money. It might have a maximum amount, but still it's free money. Free money is always good. So it encourages the parents to save for their child's education. That's what I mean by the government encouraging its people to save. We don't have that in the Philippines. I think a little pointer here would be good for the Philippine government. I know we don't have that much money, but still, we might get there. I'm still tackling on what Filipinos can learn from Canadians. Later on, I'll be giving my what Canadians can learn from Filipinos. Okay? My third one is urban planning. When you go to the Philippines and you walk around the streets, there's a lot of corners that are not on the maps, and we call those esquinitas. Those are walkable corners. Actually, those are passable corners even. Like a small car can pass, but not maybe not the big ones. But still, they're not on the maps. Here in Canada, if you look at it in an aerial view, you don't find small esquinitas or small corners. Everything is thought of, everything is planned, even the ratio of the park around residences, the ratio of the green area around residences, the hospital around how big the population, the schools and how big the population is. You will know that the city really thought of everything. I know that land is scarce in the Philippines, but still, we can always develop buildings to have parks within the roof decks or a green space within the building. I just wish that the Philippines would not just concentrate on the parking and the number of units ratio for a building. I just wish that they would also consider where will the children play, where will they go to school, where is the nearest hospital. So everything else should be considered for a community to thrive. Another one is this. Everything is centralized here in Canada for the public services. What do I mean by that? In the Philippines, when you want to renew your license, you go to LTO. If you want to go and check your pension, you go to SSS. If you want to check your birth certificate or request for a marriage certificate, you go to PSA. If you want to go and get a medical certificate, you go to PhilHealth. All these government agencies have different locations, and the lineup can be like a big headache. Here you go to one centralized office. You renew your license in one office. You renew your health card in one office. You renew your photo card in one office. You update your address in one office so that all your mailing for these government agencies will be centralized. Easy, right? How I wish that the Philippines can learn from this. What's good here in Canada is that these offices work with debit and credit cards. Less cash handling, less exposure to cash means less corruption. It goes straight to the banking system of the government. Your bank to the bank of the government. Nobody touches cash. Really. Imagine if LTO does not have cash there. Imagine if BIR does not have cash there. See? Think about it, Philippines. This is a very big room for improvement. My last one for what Filipinos can learn from Canadians is this. I have applied in several companies without wearing makeup. I have applied in several companies where my resume didn't have a photo of myself. I have applied in several companies that I didn't even reveal my age. A big difference from what we have in the Philippines. Number one on the list of the criteria that they would hire you, pleasing personality. How many times is that phrase on the ad that says wanted? Number one is pleasing personality. Everybody wears makeup back home. Does that make you pleasing if you wear makeup? Anyway, that's their preference. But we don't discriminate according to the physical appearance here. We don't discriminate according to age. If your skill set matches what the company is looking for, then they hire you. They look at your skills. If your skills match their skill set that they require, you proceed to the interview. But if not, then they drop you. Okay? Unlike the Philippines, uy, tigawang na ni siya. Uy, di man kay gwapa sa picture. Uy, lihang, di ni pwede. We judge applicants by how they look. We discriminate them because they're old. That's just one of the things that I think Filipinos can learn from Canadians. And now we switch. What Canadians can learn from Filipinos? Can Canadians learn how to use timba or kabo? At the height of pandemic, we followed suit when America was hoarding tissue paper. We didn't realize that we can source out tissue paper here from our Canadian factories. Well, there was a time that the tissue paper really was not available in any shelf. And we Filipinos thought, why are they hoarding tissue paper? I have here a ply that will last me for, 3 weeks? I still use a small cup when I do my number one or my number two thing in the washroom. I honestly tell you that you can save a lot of tissue paper if you clean your private area with water first and then just towel it dry with your tissue. Not the whole tissue roll, and another roll just to wipe off your bum. My second one is, can Canadians have a heavier penalty for pedestrian motor vehicle accidents? Motor vehicle accidents wherein the driver was under the influence of alcohol. It's sad that a lot of the accidents here, the driver just gets away with $2,000 penalty, $5,000 penalty, and that's it. For those who are not familiar with the ratio here, $2,000 penalty is just like your 1 month salary, or others can even earn $5,000 a month or even $10,000 a month here. So that figure, if you're driving a race car and you happen to be under the influence of alcohol and you ram to another vehicle which ended with deaths, then I think the $5,000 penalty is not enough. Just a thought. Can Canadians have a heavier penalty? Pila naman taon ng $2,000? Uy, kung minimum income ka nganhi, $2,000 a month ka. Now, kung nakaligis kag tao nya, nakainom ka, $2,000 sa imong penalty, up to $5,000. But still, ang $2,000, it's like what? Mao na value sa tao nga na imong naligsan? Unya, you know that it could have been prevented kung wa ka mo inom? Anyway, just my thoughts, just my thoughts. Heavier penalties? Why not explore, right? Another food for thought is why can't Canadians hire more security guards? I know Canadians are so trusting, but it helps prevent. I've worked in retail, and I tell you, there really are some bad people out there. And um, I've learned stories that people can just walk out with something and the staff won't stop you because the number one rule is that they should be concerned of their safety. They try not to be heroes themselves. So you can even get an HR reprimand if you try to stop a shoplifter. So it still confuses me why we don't employ security guards. But yeah, so I think Canadians can learn from that. Because when you're in the Philippines, it's not just one security guard that meets you in the gates or that meets you at the door. It's several. One for male, one for female, one who checks your bags. But for me, that's safer. I feel more safe. That's just me because I grew up in the Philippines. But yeah, I can't be too trusting. Ako lang i-share, I worked here sa retail. My very first real job here. And kiba ka nga nay kawatan usahay gyud. Makamatnon gyud ka nga nay kawatan. Ang kapait lang kay naami sa amo ang balaod sa among kumpanya. Nga kung ikay mo badlong sa kawatan, ikaw na hini matanggal. So, mareprimand pa ka. Ngano di man taon may muhar nga ri og security guards oy. Pang deterrent lang unta ba? And my last one. Back home, before I came to Canada, I was a supervisor for the sales and marketing team that handled retail spaces, office spaces, warehouse spaces, and we ventured into some residential spaces later on. But still, I was exposed to finding the correct office space, finding the perfect retail space with all the door direction, consider feng shui, where's the water, where's the nearest location of the safety or the fire exit door. So all these were considered when you put up an office, a retail, or a warehouse. I would understand a warehouse where um, it's far from a lot of the buildings, right? Because you need massive space. So when I came here to Canada, what I observed was, why is there a restaurant in the basement? Why is there a shop in the middle of nowhere? It's okay if it's a grocery, right? Because you go to groceries, you really go there. But the shop is what? A party store? Sometimes I don't see the science in putting up the business in that location. And I pity because it's like you're wasting money because location alone, your business will not thrive. There's nobody there to patronize your business. So that's one of the things that I observe. Like, people must have so much money that, okay, I want to put up a business. Okay, this place is empty. But did you even look at the traffic, at the foot traffic? Do you have your market here? So a lot of Canadians, I think, they have so much money that they can just put up businesses everywhere. And it boggles me. It confuses me because of my background back home. Like, are you just wasting money because I know your business will fold up? Right? So that Canadians, I think, can learn from the Filipinos that are so particular with location. Location, location, location. So those are my what Canadians can learn from Filipinos and Filipinos can learn from Canadians. I hope you also learn from it. Pang Canadian, signing off. The Canadian when you go to a hospital, photo ba mama?